Have you ever started praying the rosary and suddenly fell asleep? What if I told you that this could have a much deeper meaning than you think? Padre Pio, one of the greatest masters of the spiritual life, warned of an invisible danger that surrounds prayer. He even had an impactful vision of hell and heard something frightening. If the faithful knew the power of the rosary, all hell would tremble. But why do we feel sleepy when praying? Is it just tiredness? Or is there something bigger behind it? Stay with me until the end, because this answer can change your life. During prayer, some people believe that falling asleep is just human weakness. However, others see something deeper. Could it be a spiritual attack or even divine intervention? Padre Pio had a clear understanding of these issues. In his notes, he revealed 3 main reasons why people feel sleepy when praying, and the third is the most mysterious and controversial. Padre Pio also taught what we should do if this happens, and mentioned a phrase that, when uttered at that moment, immediately drives away evil. This same phrase was used by Padre Pio himself when he faced attacks from the forces of darkness. His teaching can completely transform your view on the prayer life. Before understanding this secret, it is essential to understand how the rosary became such a powerful spiritual weapon and why the enemy goes to great lengths to prevent its recitation. The rosary is recognized as one of the strongest prayers in the Catholic Church, and its effectiveness has been demonstrated at crucial moments in history. One of the most striking examples occurred at the Battle of Lepanto in 1571. At that time, the mighty Ottoman Empire threatened to take over Christian Europe, and victory seemed impossible. Faced with this scenario, Pope St. Pius V called on the faithful to pray the rosary, pleading for the intercession of the Blessed Virgin Mary. As Catholic soldiers fought the battle at sea, crowds of worshippers knelt in prayer. It was then that a miracle happened. The Christian fleet was victorious, saving the faith in Europe. This victory was directly attributed to the strength of prayer, cementing the rosary as a powerful spiritual shield against evil, something that even the enemies of the Church fear. The Mother of God herself stressed the importance of this prayer in various apparitions, such as in Fatima, where she made a clear request: pray the rosary every day. Devotion to the rosary has the power to transform hearts, heal lives, and ward off evil. Many saints have witnessed miracles by praying it with true faith. Padre Pio, extremely devoted to the rosary, called it the weapon of our times. For him, this prayer was a direct path to God and a plea for protection addressed to Mary. Precisely for this reason, the rosary is so spiritually attacked. Every Hail Mary recited is like a sword against evil. It is not surprising that the enemy tries in every way to prevent its recitation. You may have noticed that whenever you start praying, unexpected sleep comes along with distractions and inexplicable discouragement. But what is the true meaning of this phenomenon? Here's the secret behind falling asleep during prayer. If the rosary is such a powerful weapon, why do so many people struggle to complete it? Fatigue can become overwhelming, and Padre Pio understood that prayer is a true spiritual battle. He used to say that by kneeling to pray, we enter a battlefield where the enemy does everything to distract and discourage us. The rosary cannot be treated superficially. Of course, in some cases, fatigue may just be a reflection of physical exhaustion, but that's not the only explanation. The devil is not so much afraid of fasting or penance, but he is truly terrified of the rosary. As Padre Pio said, this happens because, in praying it, we directly invoke the intercession of the Blessed Virgin Mary, Satan's greatest enemy. He knows that all prayer weakens his hold and frees the soul, so he employs every possible means to prevent this practice, including drowsiness. If you've ever felt a sudden tiredness while praying, it may be time to consider that something deeper is going on. There are 3 main reasons for falling asleep during prayer, the third being the most surprising. The first reason is the most obvious: natural fatigue. After a long day, the mind is exhausted and the body demands rest. The repetitive rhythm of the rosary can lead to deep relaxation, favoring sleep. If that were the only explanation, there would be no mystery. The problem arises when this sleep happens frequently, unexpectedly, even when there is not so much physical fatigue. The second reason is more unsettling: the spiritual attack. The enemy knows the power of the rosary, and if he cannot stop someone from praying, he will try to stop it in another way. The Vatican's chief exorcist revealed that during exorcisms, demons confess that every Hail Mary said is a blow that wounds them. They describe this prayer as a fire that torments and weakens them. If the faithful truly understood the power of the Rosary, evil would be doomed. This explains why the enemy goes to such great lengths to prevent its recitation. The Rosary is not a simple prayer, but an impenetrable shield that places the soul under the direct protection of the Mother of God. Spiritual attacks can manifest themselves in many ways, from sudden discouragement to unexplained drowsiness. Therefore, when you feel tired when praying the Rosary, do not ignore it. It can be a direct attempt by the enemy to make you give up. Many believers report that by persevering in prayer, this feeling disappears because evil does not support perseverance in faith. The third reason, rarely mentioned, defies logic: divine protection. How can God allow a person to fall asleep during prayer to protect him? Wouldn't that make her even more vulnerable? In some cases, God allows the soul to enter a state of rest as a form of protection. Think of it this way: when we're awake, our mind is active, filled with daily thoughts and worries. During deep prayer, the mind becomes an easy target for spiritual attacks. To prevent this, guardian angels and God's own grace can allow us to fall asleep, facilitating a direct connection with God, without interference from the conscious mind. Saints and mystics of the Church have already described this phenomenon. To identify if something spiritual is happening in your life, look at the signs around you. Does your life seem to be full of inexplicable obstacles? Financial and family problems arise suddenly. Do you get sick often without an apparent cause? Do you feel sadness or anxiety without explanation? These can be signs that your life is under spiritual attack. The enemy does not care about those who are far from God, but fiercely attacks those who are approaching him. If you have started praying more and suddenly your life has become more difficult, this is not a coincidence. It is a sign that you are on the right path and need to persevere. So what to do if sleep is preventing you from praying the Rosary? Persevere. Padre Pio said, "Keep praying, for even when prayer seems empty, there is a fire that needs to be kept burning. Change your position. If you are drowsy, pray standing or walk while praying. Take short breaks, but don't abandon prayer. Ask God for help. Before you begin the Rosary, ask the Virgin Mary to strengthen your faith and remove all distractions. In addition, Padre Pio taught us a powerful secret to combat spiritual attacks. Once, while in the confessional, a man approached to confess his sins. At first he spoke with respect and tranquility, but something in his voice bothered Padre Pio. As confession progressed, the sins reported were terrifying, and the atmosphere grew heavier and heavier. It was then that Padre Pio realized that he was not facing an ordinary penitent, but rather the devil himself trying to deceive him. Without fear, Padre Pio stared at the man and declared, "May Jesus live forever. May Mary live forever." At the same moment, the man was furious. His friendly expression disappeared, and his eyes filled with hatred. He refused to repeat these words, and in a flash of sparks and a terrible smell of sulfur, he disappeared completely. Padre Pio left us this valuable lesson. Whenever you feel any negative spiritual influence, pronounce these words with faith. They are a shield against all evil attacks. So, if sleep tries to prevent you from praying, if discouragement wants to take you away from God, declare with conviction, "May Jesus live forever. May Mary live forever." Use this phrase as a spiritual weapon against any disturbance. God does not expect perfect prayers, but sincere ones. Even if you fall asleep, He knows your heart and accepts your desire to pray. If you feel that sleep and discouragement are trying to weaken your faith, don't give up. Every Hail Mary you pray is one step closer to God's heart. Do not allow anything, not even fatigue, to keep you from this powerful spiritual weapon. Persevere. For when you pray, hell trembles. Want to discover one more powerful secret about the Rosary and how it can transform your life? Watch our next video now and see how the saints use this prayer to win spiritual battles. Click here and continue strengthening your faith.